What's up? I'm Charles with Rocky Mountain ATV-MC. In this video, we're going to show you how to replace your clutch plates on a YZ125 or 125X. Clutch plates are a high wear item, especially on these 125s, since usually you're trying to feather that clutch to keep the bike in the meat of the power. So if you go to give this bike gas and it doesn't accelerate like it's supposed to, you want to check your clutch free play first. And if the clutch is still slipping, then you're probably going to have to go in there and replace those plates. So we're going to show you how to do it on this 2019 YZ125. The process will be similar for model years 2005 and newer, and it's also going to work for the 125Xs. So let's go ahead and get started. For this job, we're using common hand tools, a gasket scraper, feeler gauges, digital caliper, our drain pan and funnel. We're also going to use waterproof grease, contact cleaner, and we have our 80 weight gear saver, but you can use whatever type of oil you prefer. And then for clutch kits, we have a lot of different options on our website. This is the Tusk Competition Clutch Kit with heavy duty springs, and these fibers are made out of an aramid material that are much more durable than your standard clutch. So this is a great option to go with. We're also using a brand new clutch cover gasket and some safety glasses, rags, and rubber gloves. Now, throughout the process, no matter what bike you're working on, you want to refer to your model specific service manual for more information and specs. New clutch plates means new oil, so we've gone ahead and removed our skid plate, and now we'll remove our drain bolt. Now we're going to wipe the sealing surface and reinstall the drain plug with a new crush washer. Next, we need to get our brake pedal out of the way. So if you don't have one of these frame guards, you can press the piston on your rear brake caliper, press this pedal all the way down, and then stick a screwdriver in that hole. But since we have this frame guard here, what we're going to do is actually remove the pedal. So we'll remove this clip out of the back of the pivot bolt and then remove that pivot bolt. That's going to make it real easy to disconnect that spring, and we'll just let the lever hang down like that. Now we're going to remove our cover. We're going to loosen the bolts up in a crisscross pattern and keep track of where each bolt goes because they will be different lengths. Now we're going to pull the cover off, and if it doesn't come off easy, you can use one of these pry tabs to help pop the cover off. Then you're going to have two pins. Make sure those stay in place. Then we can loosen up these clutch plate bolts in a crisscross pattern. We're just going to shift our transmission into gear to help hold the clutch basket, and we're going to loosen them up in a couple different steps. After that, we can remove our pressure plate. So on the pressure plate, you want to make sure that the surface that comes in contact with your fiber discs, you want to make sure doesn't have any bluing on it or any deep grooves. This one looks pretty good. Then we have this throwout bearing. Just make sure that spins freely and you don't see any visible damage. And then we can start to remove the clutch pack. So you can see this clutch pack is actually looking pretty good, almost brand new, but we still want to show you guys how to do this. So the main thing with the steel plates, you're going to be checking for any signs of bluing. These ones are looking good. You can put these on a surface plate and measure them with a feeler gauge if you suspect they're warped, but again, if you see any bluing, then it's a pretty clear sign that they will be warped. Now with the fibers, if these things are burned, they're going to have a dark appearance, and you might even be able to smell the burned oil. So that's just something to pay attention to, but you can also measure the thickness on these plates. You also have a ball in here. You don't want to lose it, and I'm just covering my magnet up with a rag so I don't get any metal shavings on it. So our friction discs, they're at 3.01 millimeters. The service limit is 2.8 millimeters. So if you're down there, you definitely need to get them replaced. Now, if you plan on reusing your springs, you want to get those measured while you have your calipers out. So these need to be at least 38.1 millimeters. Ours are actually 39.56. So these are in spec, and we could reuse them, but again, we're just doing new plates and heavy duty springs. Now we're going to do a visual inspection on our clutch basket and clutch hub. So one thing you want to check is for any free play side to side on the basket. Now there is a gear on the backside and there will be some lash from gear to gear, so this barely moves. But if you can hear those gears when they come into contact with each other, if this basket still rotates, then you know that those bushings on the backside are bad. You also want to rock it back and forth. And if this thing rocks back and forth at all, again, you know, you might have some bearings down in there that are bad. The other thing you want to inspect is the clutch fingers for any deep grooves. You can see these ones, you know, we do have a little bit of grooving on them, but it's not bad enough to where I'm going to replace the clutch basket yet. So you want to do the same thing on that clutch hub. Check for any grooves, and if they're very deep, you want to make sure they get replaced. So now we're going to take our new fiber plates, and I'm just going to put them in the bag that came with our kit. We'll pour some for the homies. We're just doing this over our drain pan so we don't make a mess. And then once you have oil in the bag, I'm just going to push all these to the side and rotate them, make sure I have oil all over these plates. And we're going to take our new steels, do the same thing. So our clutch hub and our clutch basket are pretty clean, but if you have a ton of friction material that's worn off in there, or you see any other debris in here, you want to tip the bike towards this side, have your drain pan underneath, and then spray contact cleaner on everything. And then you want to go through and clean up any other parts that are dirty. All right, now to install the new clutch plates, we're going to start with a friction plate. All of these are the same, so it makes it easy. Now with the steel plates, you want to make sure they all go in the same way. So if you run your finger across the corner, you'll notice you have a sharp edge and a rounded edge. I'm going to put the rounded edge in towards the motor, and we're going to install all of the plates in that same orientation. Then we can just alternate between friction plates and steel plates. We'll put a little bit of oil on that throwout bearing. Make sure there's some on that ball as well. So we'll install the ball first, throwout bearing. So now we can install our pressure plate. Make sure that's seated on there fully. Then we'll install our new springs, and we're going to torque the bolts in a crisscross pattern to 7.2 foot-pounds. So now we're going to remove the old clutch cover gasket. If it left anything behind, again, you're going to want to use that gasket scraper. And we're going to wipe that surface with a rag and contact cleaner. Now we're going to install our new clutch cover gasket. Some people like to put a little grease on these. That way, if you ever take the cover back off, this material isn't going to be stuck to your cover. Then we'll reinstall the clutch cover and make sure you line it up with the two dowel pins. Now we'll install the bolts and torque them in a crisscross pattern to 7.2 foot-pounds. And just keep in mind that long bolt is the one at the highest point. Now we can remove our fill cap from the motor. We're going to clean it off and the sealing surface, and then fill up the transmission with 660 milliliters of oil. Now we can reinstall the filler cap. We're going to grease up that pivot bolt for our brake pedal. So first and foremost, connect the spring, then install the pivot bolt. And we'll reinstall the clip. Now if you pressed in the piston on your rear caliper, you want to make sure you pump the brake pedal up. And then anytime you have a new clutch, you want to make sure you adjust the clutch free play at the perch. So typically you can just put a nickel between your clutch lever and clutch perch and have that be the amount of free play in there. But on this one, since the lever doesn't quite fit in there perfectly, just make sure there's a little bit of free play before you feel any resistance in the clutch lever. That wraps it up for the YZ125 and 125X clutch replacement. It's really simple to do, and if you need these parts, make sure you get them on our website. We have a lot of different options on there. And if you want to see more helpful content like this, subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.